The first letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in late April, tucked between a credit card offer and a grocery store circular. I remember standing at my kitchen counter, coffee mug in hand, staring at the Willow Creek HOA letterhead with growing disbelief. Dear Mr. Castellano, it began in that passive-aggressive corporate tone that makes your blood pressure spike. It has come to our attention that the fence erected along the western boundary of your property at 428 Meadowbrook Lane extends approximately 6 feet onto HOA common area land. Per Section 7.3 of the community bylaws, all structures must remain within property boundaries. You have 30 days to remove the encroaching portion or face fines of $100 per day. I read it 3 times. Then I walked outside, surveyed my fence, the one I'd paid $8,000 to install just 2 months earlier, and felt my jaw clench. The fence ran exactly where my survey stakes indicated. I'd hired a licensed surveyor, pulled permits, done everything by the book. That afternoon, I marched into the HOA office with my survey documents rolled under my arm like a weapon. The office occupied a converted house at the neighborhood entrance, all beige walls and motivational posters about community spirit. Behind the reception desk sat Marcia Hoffmann, the HOA president, a woman in her mid-50s with helmet hair and the kind of smile that never reached her eyes. Mr. Castellano, she said, not looking up from her computer. I assume you received our letter. I did, and it's wrong. I spread my survey across her desk, pointing to the clearly marked property lines. This survey was done by Patterson and Associates. They're the most reputable firm in the county. My fence is on MY land. Marcia barely glanced at it. The HOA commissioned our own survey last year when we were planning the walking trail expansion. According to our measurements, that strip of land belongs to the common area. Then your survey is wrong. I assure you it's not. She slid my documents back toward me with 2 fingers, as if they might contaminate her. The HOA has been managing these properties for 15 years. We know what the boundaries are. Show me your survey. That's proprietary HOA information. Residents don't have access to internal documents. I felt heat rising up my neck. You're demanding I tear down a fence based on a survey you won't even show me? We're asking you to comply with community standards. 30 days, Mr. Castellano. She turned back to her computer. Conversation over. I left that office shaking with frustration. But I'm not the type to back down when I know I'm right. My grandfather built houses for 40 years, and he taught me one crucial lesson. When it comes to property, documentation is everything. Over the next week, I gathered my arsenal. I pulled the original deed from 1987, when the neighborhood was first developed. I obtained 3 additional surveys from different firms, all of them confirming my property line. I photographed the iron boundary markers embedded in the ground along my fence line, markers that had been there since the subdivision was created. I even found the original plat map from the county recorder's office. Every single document told the same story. The HOA was wrong, and that 6-foot strip was mine. I returned to Marcia's office with a folder 2 inches thick. This time, I brought my neighbor Dave, a real estate attorney who'd been itching for a reason to challenge the HOA ever since they'd fined him $500 for having his garbage cans visible from the street. Mrs. Hoffmann, I said, dropping the folder on her desk with satisfying thud. This is every piece of documentation related to my property boundary. Deeds, surveys, plat maps, county records. All of it proves that fence is on my land. I'm giving you one chance to withdraw your demand. Marcia didn't even open the folder. The HOA board has reviewed this matter thoroughly. Our position stands. You now have 23 days to comply, or fines will begin accruing. Dave leaned forward. As Mr. Castellano's attorney, I'm advising you that proceeding with this action would be ill-advised. The evidence is overwhelming and... Are we done here? Marcia's smile had vanished entirely. Because I have a meeting in 5 minutes. We're done, I said quietly. But you'll be hearing from us again. As we walked to our cars, Dave shook his head. She's betting you'll cave rather than fight. HOAs do it all the time. They count on people not wanting a hassle. Wrong bet, I said. The fine started exactly 30 days later. $100 per day, added to my monthly HOA due statement. I didn't pay them. Instead, Dave filed a lawsuit against the Willow Creek HOA for harassment, abuse of authority, and slander title. That last one being a legal term for making false claims about someone's property. The HOA board responded by doubling down. They sent a letter to every homeowner in the neighborhood, painting me as a problem resident who refused to follow community rules. They increased my fines to $200 per day. They even put a lien on my house. That lien was their biggest mistake. Dave explained it to me over beers at his house, a grin spreading across his face as he read their filing. They put a lien on your property based on a false claim. That's not just civil. It could be criminal fraud. And more importantly, it gave us grounds to expedite the court hearing. The hearing happened on a sweltering July morning. The HOA showed up with their lawyer, a slick guy in an expensive suit who radiated overconfidence. They also brought their surveyor, a nervous man named Kenneth, who kept adjusting his glasses. My side presented first. Dave walked the judge through every document, laying out a paper trail, so clear a child could follow it. Then he called my surveyor, Linda Patterson, a woman with 30 years of experience and a reputation for absolute precision. In your professional opinion, Dave asked her, "Where's the property line?" "Exactly where Mr. Castellano's fence is located," Linda said firmly. She pulled out her equipment logs, her GPS coordinates, her methodology. I've surveyed hundreds of properties in this county. I stand by my work completely. Then came the HOA's turn. Their lawyer called Kenneth to the stand. "Can you show us the survey that demonstrates the HOA's claim?" the judge asked. Kenneth fumbled with his briefcase, pulling out a single sheet with hand-drawn lines. "Well, Your Honor, we didn't conduct a formal survey. Mrs. Hoffmann asked me to take some measurements using a measuring tape and estimate the boundaries based on the existing trail markers." The courtroom went silent. Even the HOA's lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under his table. "You're telling me," the judge said slowly, "that the HOA demanded this man remove his fence and imposed thousands of dollars in fines based on someone walking around with a tape measure?" We believed our measurements were accurate." Kenneth stammered. "Did you locate the iron boundary markers?" I wasn't aware there were any." The judge removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "Anything else, counselor?" The HOA's lawyer looked like he'd aged 10 years. "No, Your Honor." The ruling came down like a hammer. The judge ordered the HOA to immediately remove all fines and the lien from my property. He granted my claim for attorney's fees, court costs, and damages. The total came to $47,000. But the real kicker came at the end of his ruling. Furthermore, the judge said, his voice sharp with displeasure, the court finds the HOA's actions to have been undertaken with reckless disregard for Mr. Castellano's property rights. The board members who voted to pursue this matter demonstrated a stunning lack of due diligence and an abuse of their authority. While this court cannot remove them from their positions, I strongly encourage the Willow Creek community to consider new leadership. The aftermath was beautiful. Word of the ruling spread to the neighborhood like wildfire. Within a week, a petition circulated demanding the recall of Marcia and 2 other board members. Within a month, they'd all resigned. The HOA's insurance company paid my judgment, but the legal mess cost them another $30,000 in their own attorney's fees. Dave and I celebrated with steaks on my back deck, my vindicated fence standing proud in the background. As the sun set over Willow Creek, I raised my beer toward that fence. "To property rights," I said, "and to expensive lessons," Dave added with a laugh. The new HOA board sent me a formal apology letter. They also revised the bylaws to require professional surveys before making any boundary claims. Marcia moved out of the neighborhood 6 months later. I heard she joined another HOA board across town. I almost feel sorry for them. Every time I look at that fence now, I don't just see $8,000 worth of cedar and hardware. I see the principle of standing your ground when you know you're right. I see the importance of documentation and the danger of arrogant people with a little bit of power. Most importantly, I see the reminder I gave every petty tyrant in every HOA everywhere. Back off people's land or get ready to pay big time. Word count, 1,847 words.